All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Sunil Verma and with me is V. Ravi Kumar. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch various projects at Somnath in Gujarat this morning. President gives assent to the Constitution 105th Amendment Act, restoring power of states to identify socially and economically backward classes. Also gives assent to General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Act. CBI forms 4 teams to investigate cases of rape, murder and crime against women during post-poll violence in West Bengal. DRDO develops advanced chaff technology to safeguard fighter aircraft of Indian Air Force against hostile radar threats. India says there can be no justification for any act of terrorism regardless of motivation. External Affairs Ministry urges Indian nationals in Afghanistan requiring assistance to contact Special Cell. G7 countries say Taliban must hold their commitments to ensure protection of civilians in Afghanistan. More than 57 crore 16 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. And Muharram being observed today with due reverence and solemnity in different parts of the country. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is going on, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of various projects at Somnath in Gujarat at 11 a.m. today through video conferencing. Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Union Tourism Minister G. Kishan Reddy, Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani and Deputy Chief Minister Nitin Patel will be present on the occasion. Our correspondent has the details.
The 3 projects to be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi include 1 kilometer long promenade Samudra Darshan walkway built at a cost of 49 crore rupees. Samudra Darshan walkway behind the temple decorated with colorful lightings, spiritual paintings and benches. Prime Minister will also inaugurate newly built Somnath Exhibition Gallery constructed at a cost of 75 lakh rupees. It has vast collections of ancient artifacts and documents to showcase the glorious history of historic Somnath Temple. He will also inaugurate Ahilyabai Holkar Temple, recently renovated at Old Somnath Temple opposite to the main temple. He will also lay the foundation stone for the Parvati Temple near the Somnath Temple. Parvati Temple will be constructed at a cost of 30 crore rupees. Yogesh Pandya, Air News, Ahmedabad.
President Ramnath Kovind has given his assent to the Constitution 105th Amendment Act 2021, which restores the power of state governments to identify and specify socially and economically backward classes, SEBCs. A notification to this effect was issued by Ministry of Law and Justice. The Constitution 100th and 77th Amendment Bill 2021 was passed by the Parliament on 11th of this month during the recently concluded monsoon session. This should read as Constitution 127th Amendment Bill 2021. While speaking on the bill in Lok Sabha, Social Justice and Empowerment Minister Dr. Virendra Kumar had informed that the bill should be considered as the 105th Constitution Amendment Bill after being renumbered. The General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Act 2021 also got the assent of the President. It was passed by the Lok Sabha on 3rd of this month and by Rajya Sabha on the 11th of this month.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has recommended a preliminary inquiry by CBI into the alleged irregularities in procurement of 1,000 low-floor buses by Delhi government. Official sources said the matter has been examined in the Home Ministry and with the approval of the competent authority, the DOPT has been requested to take necessary action for undertaking preliminary inquiry in the matter by CBI. The Delhi government has been informed about the CBI probe in a letter to the Chief Secretary by Additional Secretary UT in Home Ministry. The CBI has formed 4 teams to investigate cases of rape, murder and crime against women during post-poll violence in West Bengal, while each team will be headed by a joint director-level officer. An additional director rank official will monitor the overall probe. Each team will have 7 members, including a Deputy Inspector General and 3 superintendents of police. The move comes after the Calcutta High Court ordered a CBI inquiry into killings, rape and crime against women after the results of the West Bengal Assembly elections were declared. A 5-judge bench yesterday pronounced its verdict on a batch of PILs seeking an independent probe into the incidents of violence. Calcutta High Court also ordered the formation of a Special Investigation Team or SIT to investigate all other cases. The High Court will monitor the investigations by both the CBI and the SIT. The court has asked the 2 agencies to submit status reports to it within 6 weeks. Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur has welcomed the verdict.
निर्णय का स्वागत करते हैं। निश्चित तौर पर लोकतंत्र में हर किसी को अपनी विचारधारा की बात रखने की, अपनी सरकार की नीतियों को, कार्यक्रमों को रखने की आजादी है, लेकिन किसी को मारने, काटने की, झगड़ा करने की और घायल करने की इजाजत नहीं है। हिंसा नहीं होनी चाहिए, हत्याएं नहीं होनी चाहिए। लोकतंत्र में संवाद से और बातचीत के माध्यम से जनता का प्यार और आशीर्वाद लेना चाहिए।
Defence Research and Development Organization DRDO has developed an advanced chaff technology to safeguard fighter aircraft of the Indian Air Force IAF against hostile radar threats. Chaff is a critical defence technology used to protect fighter aircraft from hostile radar threats. The technology has been given to the industry for production in large quantities to meet the annual rolling requirement of the Indian Air Force. The IAF has started the process of induction of this technology after completion of successful user trials. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has lauded DRDO, IAF and the industry for indigenous development of this critical technology, terming it as one more step of DRDO towards Atmanirbhar Bharat in strategic defence technologies.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that the world must never compromise with the evil of terrorism. He stressed that terrorism in all its forms and manifestations must be condemned and there cannot be any justification regardless of motivations. The minister was addressing a high-level UN Security Council briefing on threats to international peace and security by terrorist acts in New York last night. Dr. Jaishankar pointed out that India has had more than its fair share of challenges and casualties, including the 2008 Mumbai terror attack and the 2016 Pathankot air base attack. He said the menace of terrorism cannot and should not be associated with any religion, nationality, civilization or any ethnic group.
In spite of the progress we have made to tighten the legal, security, financing and other frameworks to combat terrorism, terrorists are constantly finding newer ways of motivating, resourcing and executing acts of terror. Unfortunately, there are also some countries who seek to undermine or subvert our collective resolve to fight terrorism. That cannot be allowed to pass.
The minister said in India's immediate neighborhood, ISIL Khorasan has become more energetic and is constantly seeking to expand its footprint. He said this should be taken seriously.
Events unfolding in Afghanistan have naturally enhanced global concerns about their implications for both regional and international security. The heightened activities of the proscribed Haqqani network justifies this growing anxiety. Whether it is in Afghanistan or against India, groups like Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed continue to operate with both impunity and encouragement. It is therefore vital this Council does not take a selective, tactical or even a complacent view of the problems we face.
The minister has maintained that what is true of COVID is even more true of terrorism. None of us are safe until all of us are safe. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar discussed the Afghanistan situation. In a tweet, Mr. Blinken said he had a productive call with Dr. Jaishankar about Afghanistan. Both the leaders agreed to continue their close coordination.
The External Affairs Ministry has urged all Indian nationals in Afghanistan requiring assistance to contact its Special Afghanistan Cell immediately. The ministry has added additional numbers to the 24/7 special Afghanistan cell. The updated phone numbers are +91 11 4901 6783, +91 11 4901 6784, and +91 11 4901 6785. The WhatsApp numbers are +91 801 061 1290, +91 959 932 1199, and +91 704 204 9944. The email is situationroom@mea.gov.in. U.S. Army Major General William Hank Taylor has said the international airport in Kabul remains secure and open for flight operations as over 5,200 American troops are on the ground. Speaking at a press briefing in the Pentagon, the U.S. Army Major General said that approximately 7,000 people have been evacuated out of Kabul, Afghanistan by cargo aircraft in the past 5 days. The cumulative number of people moved out of Afghanistan is somewhere near 12,000. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said there are currently 6,000 people at the airport who have been fully processed by the U.S. for evacuation and are waiting to board planes. The G7 countries have called for the international community to unite in its response to the crisis in Afghanistan to prevent it from escalating further. UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab yesterday chaired a meeting of G7 foreign ministers as well as the High Representative of the European Union to discuss the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan. In a statement after the meeting, the G7 ministers have stressed on the importance of the Taliban holding to their commitments to ensure the protection of civilians and expressed their concern over reports of violent reprisals in parts of Afghanistan.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch various projects at Somnath in Gujarat this morning. President gives assent to the Constitution's 105th Amendment Act, restoring power of states to identify socially and economically backward classes. Also gives assent to General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Act. CBI forms 4 teams to investigate cases of rape, murder and crime against women during post-poll violence in West Bengal. DRDO develops advanced chaff technology to safeguard fighter aircraft of Indian Air Force against hostile radar threats. India says there can be no justification for any act of terrorism regardless of motivation. External Affairs Ministry urges Indian nationals in Afghanistan requiring assistance to contact Special Cell. G7 countries say Taliban must hold their commitments to ensure protection of civilians in Afghanistan. More than 57 crore 16 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far, and Muharram being observed today with due reverence and solemnity in different parts of the country. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 57 crore 16 lakh mark. The Union Health Ministry said more than 48 lakh 84,000 vaccine doses were administered yesterday. Over 26 lakh 66,000 vaccine doses were administered as first dose and over 6 lakh vaccine doses given as second dose in the age group 18 to 44 years yesterday. The COVID helpline numbers are available on our website www.newsonair.gov.in. In Karnataka, Department of Public Instruction has released protocols for the reopening of offline classes from Standard 9 to 12 from August the 23rd. Only those districts which record COVID positivity rate below 2% are allowed to reopen physical classes following the standard operating procedures. More from our Bengaluru correspondent.
The physical classes are not mandatory for students with option to continue their online or alternate medium of classes. Students who desire to attend the classes in person can attend the schools for half a day. Their parents need to sign a consent letter while sending the children while mentioning that their wards have no COVID symptoms. The students will be split into groups of 15 to 20 and each batch will have separate classes. Students have to get their lunch from home and warm water will be provided in the schools and colleges. Hand sanitizers or soaps will be provided along with thermal screening. Mask and face shield will be mandatory. Each student will keep 3 to 6 feet distance, for which boxes demarcating the distance will be drawn in the schools and colleges. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has urged the Odisha government to implement the Ayushma Bharat health scheme in the state. Talking to media in capital Bhubaneswar, Mr. Pradhan said that the implementation of this pan-India health scheme will benefit the poor people of the state, besides addressing the health concerns of Odias working outside the state. More from our Bhubaneswar correspondent.
The Union Education Minister, Mr. Pradhan, who is on a 4-day visit to the state in connection with the Jan Ashirwad Yatra, also said that the centre has allocated a sizable amount to Odisha under the 15th Finance Commission. Briefing press persons on the financial assistance the centre has been providing to the state, the minister said that while Odisha has been given ample fund to construct 26 lakh houses under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, 50 lakh new gas connections have also been provided to the poor people of the state. This apart, farmers in Odisha are also being supported through the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme at regular intervals, the minister added. Girish Chandradas, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
Union Power Minister R.K. Singh has said that the centre is ready for development of infrastructure in the field of energy sector in Bihar. Starting the Jan Ashirwad Yatra from Gaya, Mr. Singh said 2,02,000 crore rupees are being spent to develop energy infrastructure in the country. Out of this, the centre has approved 22,000 crores for Bihar. Union Power Minister said Bihar was getting 12-hour power supply in 2014, but the state is now getting 23-hour electric supply in urban areas and 22 hours in rural areas.
1988 batch Maharashtra cadre IS officer Apurva Chandra has been appointed as Secretary in Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet approved his appointment. Currently, Mr. Chandra is serving as Secretary in Ministry of Labour and Employment. Higher Education Secretary Amit Khare was holding the additional charge of the post of Information and Broadcasting Secretary for over a year now. In Jammu and Kashmir, one terrorist was killed in an encounter with security forces at Pampore in Pulwama district this morning. The encounter broke out after a joint team of police, army and CRPF launched a cordon and search operation based on intelligence input about the presence of terrorists in the Crew area. As the security forces approached the suspected spot, the hiding terrorists opened fire, triggering a gunfight, which resulted in the killing of the terrorist. The identity of the slain terrorist is being ascertained. The operation was still underway when the reports last came in.
The Ashura-e-Muharram is being observed with due reverence and solemnity in various parts of the country today. The day marks the martyrdom of Prophet Muhammad's grandson, Hazrat Imam Hussain, and his companions, who laid down their lives for upholding truth, righteousness and justice in Karbala. In most of the places, there will be no large-scale traditional Taziyah processions in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, majalis or religious meetings highlighting the supreme sacrifice of Karbala martyrs are being organized with limited number of people adhering to COVID norms and guidelines issued by the government. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Azadi Ka Safar every day with All India Radio from Monday the 16th of August. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, News Services Division of All India Radio brings to you the story of glorious struggle and sacrifices of freedom fighters on 100.1 FM Gold channel in the English news bulletins at 8:30 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Stay tuned.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव। Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. India's glorious fight for freedom is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the valiant struggle every day. In today's episode, we talk about one of the heroes of India's freedom struggle, Undi Veeran, and about the foremost social reform organization, the Brahmo Samaj. Today is the day when a great son of India was martyred in the fight for freedom way back in the year 1771. He was Undiveeran Pagadai, a one-man army from Tamil Nadu. Undiveeran was one of the first warriors to rebel against the East India Company. He was born in Sankarankovil of Tenkasi district of Tamil Nadu. He was the commander-in-chief of Bhulidevan's army, who ruled Tirunelveli area. East India Company acquired the revenue-collecting rights of southern Tamil Nadu from the Nawab of Arcad. Bhulidevan and his lieutenant Undiveeran refused to accept the British domination. Undiveeran led the army and fought many battles with the British and won them all.
மகிமை கொண்ட மண்ணின் மீது எதிரிகளின் கால்கள் மலர் பறிப்பதில்லையடா வீரர்களின் கைகள் சென்று வா வென்று வா வெல்க நாடு வெல்க நாடு வெல்க வெல்கவே.
During one of the wars, the East India Company arrested Bhulidevan from his fort and beheaded him. Undiveeran was enthroned as the king. He continued to fight the British and also took care of Bhulidevan's family. In all, Undiveeran fought 11 battles against the East India Company. Finally, on the 20th August 1771, near Manur village of Tirunelveli district, even after being fatally wounded, Undiveeran led his army to victory against the British. But after the war, the fearless warrior succumbed to injuries. Today, a memorial has been built at Manur, beckoning the coming generations to pause and ponder on the life of the great warrior.
It was on this day in 1828 that the first session of Raja Ram Mohan Roy's Brahmo Samaj was held in Kolkata. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a pioneer social reformer in India who paved the way for progress in India under British rule. Roy was also an important figure in the Bengal Renaissance movement, often being called the father of the Bengal Renaissance. The Brahmo Samaj is credited with being one of the most important reform movements in India, which led to the foundation of modern India. Brahmo Samaj was a reflection of the Bengal Renaissance. The organization took active participation in social emancipation, which included the abolition of sati, the caste system, child marriage, dowry, and in upliftment of the status of women in society.
Ever since the beginning of a political movement against the British government, leaders had been demanding constitutional reforms. Dadabhai Nauroji had already put forward the idea of Swaraj in the annual session of Congress held at Calcutta in 1906. Also, during the First World War, the Home Rule League movement was gaining momentum throughout the country. To satisfy popular demand, Edwin Montagu, then Secretary of State for India, made a declaration in the British Parliament on this day in 1917, defining the goal of British policies in India. This came to be known as the August Declaration. The August Declaration aimed at increasing association of Indians in administration with a view to the progressive realization of responsible governments in India. The declaration proposed to provide a dominion status to India after the Second World War. However, the leaders in India criticized the reforms as people demanded complete independence and not just a dominion status. The declaration was criticized in a session held at Calcutta in December 1917. Bal Gangadhar Tilak also characterized the reforms as unworthy and disappointing, a sunless dawn. This report, however, became the basis of the Government of India Act 1919, which remained the cornerstone of governance till India's independence in 1947. That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar AIR News ke Sang. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
National capital Delhi is home to multiple heritage sites which are key attractions for people visiting the city. The Ek Bharat Shreshth Bharat campaign aims to enhance interaction between people of different cultures and regions, as well as promote such exchanges of heritage and history among citizens from various states of the country. A report.
By pairing Sikkim and Delhi, the Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat campaign promotes opportunities to people of these states for appreciating, learning and exchanging best practices and experiences in areas of cuisine, heritage, tourism and lifestyle among others. Gangtok-based Vivek Chhetri visited national capital Delhi in 2018 to prepare for civil service exams but ended up working as a freelance journalist in a top media house for 3 years. Vivek shares his experience during his stay in Delhi.
Moving to a new city from a small town has made a lot of changes for me. It's been 3 years and I've got to experience a different life, different from the one I live here. Delhi is diverse in every way possible. There's a lot of things to see and do.
The COVID-19 pandemic brought him back home, but he plans to move to Delhi again to restart his career. The 3-year stay in the national capital offered opportunities to Vivek to visit art galleries, monuments, museums and places of national significance which he cherishes and would revisit soon. With Sankat Sarkar, Vijay Sharma from Gangtok for AIR.
Various attempts are being made to help Divyang people become self-sufficient. With the Raksha Bandhan festival around the corner in Chandrapur district of Maharashtra, Rakhi, made up of bamboo, helped 12 Divyang people to become Atmanirbhar. They are trained in making Rakhi, handicrafts and other items from bamboo. From production to sales, all activities are taken care of by Divyang people. Their eco-friendly products are in demand from various parts of the state and surrounding areas. They are receiving orders from Hyderabad, Pune, Nagpur, Solapur and other parts of Maharashtra.
And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital, Delhi, is likely to have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The minimum temperature was 27 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is likely to be nearly 33 degrees. Mumbai will also have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. In Chennai, the temperature will move to a maximum of 35 degrees Celsius from a minimum of 27. Kolkata will have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. In Srinagar, the temperature will hover between 15 and 30 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Leh is expected to have mainly clear sky. In Gilgit, temperature will be varying between 16 and 38 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad will have a sunny sky. Guwahati, Imphal, Shillong, Aizawl and Kohima will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of development of thunder lightning.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. IAF may resume evacuation of Indians from Kabul today, headlines The Asian Age. US may stay back in Afghanistan beyond the pullout, reads the headline in Hindustan Times quoting President Biden. Financial squeeze as government formation eludes Afghanistan, IMF suspends aid, headlines The Tribune. Taliban faces Afghans' resilience, reports The Pioneer, referring to protests by citizens against the Taliban in Kabul and other places in Afghanistan. Pak-based terror groups operate with impunity, Union Minister S. Jaishankar has stated at UNSC, reports The Indian Express. Amid Afghan concerns, India slams Pak's state hospitality for terror groups, headlines The Times of India. 36,401 fresh COVID-19 cases, 437 deaths on Thursday, reports The Statesman. And finally, emphasizing that personal liberty is an important aspect of our constitutional mandate, the Supreme Court tells the police, don't arrest people just because you can, reports Hindustan Times.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch various projects at Somnath in Gujarat this morning. President gives assent to the Constitution 105th Amendment Act, restoring power of states to identify socially and economically backward classes. Also gives assent to General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Act. CBI forms 4 teams to investigate cases of rape, murder and crime against women during post-poll violence in West Bengal. DRDO develops advanced chaff technology to safeguard fighter aircraft of Indian Air Force against hostile radar threats. India says there can be no justification for any act of terrorism regardless of motivation. External Affairs Ministry urges Indian nationals in Afghanistan requiring assistance to contact Special Cell. G7 countries say Taliban must hold their commitments to ensure protection of civilians in Afghanistan. More than 57 crore 16 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far, and Muharram being observed today with due reverence and solemnity in different parts of the country. With that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.